I don't know if you saw Football Outsiders DVOA stats this week. Did you see them?
I have not, no.
So, this is going to shock people, I'm sure, and it stunned me. Through 5 weeks of the season, this year's 2019 San Francisco 49ers is one of the six best teams in history. Does that cause a shock to you?
Yeah.
The only other 5 teams who had a better DVOA score, so down-to-down efficiency plus a bunch of other crap thrown in there, and it spits out your DVOA, which is by far the best individual metric you can find to tell you about how well a team is doing and how good they are on a play-to-play basis. The only 5 teams ahead of them, do you want to guess them or should I just read them after you?
No, just read them. I'll be
okay. And I'm going 5-1, okay?
All right.
We got the 96 Packers. They won the Super Bowl. They went 13-3. We got the 99 Rams, the greatest show on turf. They won the Super Bowl, and they went 13-3. We got the 2013 Denver Broncos. They lost the Super Bowl, but they also went 13-3, and they had Peyton Manning. Remember when he broke every record ever before his neck fell apart? That was that one. We have in second place, the professional football team of Washington of 1991. They won the Super Bowl, and they went 14-2. And in first place, we have the 2007 New England Patriots. You might remember those guys. They lost the Super Bowl, but they went 16-0.
Yeah, they were pretty decent, weren't they?
This is the company that this 49ers team is in, which I'm looking at that and I'm like, those are genuinely the 5 most dominant and historically significant teams of the last 30 years, right? That is, through each one, you see the evolution of the sport to this point with Mahomes and the Chiefs and what they're doing. If you kicked in also the kind of Russell Wilson, Legion of Boom, Seahawks in there, that's the only one that's missing from that. From that, quintet, whatever you call it. That's who the 2019 Niners stack up against. And if you just go through each individual thing, they are the only team, the top 5 in efficiency in offense and defense, best run blocking line by a million miles in the league, second best pass protecting line in the league, third in adjusted sack rate, like just on and down the line. They are not just like good, they are historically elite and dominant. Which, isn't that crazy? They wiped out the Browns, right? They kind of beat the Steelers. Good job by them. The first week was a turgid affair against. That was the Bucks one, right? Then they beat the Bengals as well. They hammered the Bengals. But do you watch this Niners team and go, "Yep, this is the greatest show on turf, man. This is it. Shanahan and Garoppolo, let's go."
That is one of the biggest mic drops of all time. That is absolutely bonkers.
I know. I was floored by this. The mad scientist.
Shanahan is cooking.
Apparently so. Now, I will say I dug through this some more, and this is the point of the article, is that it just doesn't feel right? No. Like, intrinsically, it doesn't feel right. And I think the thing why this is so clearly a facade, when it shouldn't be. The minimum expectations now, when you do what they're doing, is they should historically... The only teams that have done what they've done have at least won 13 games, at least, and they've all played in the Super Bowl. So they would be the first ones not to do it. We have the 3 injuries this week, right, that basically wipe out their offense, which is Staley, McGlinchey, and Juszczyk. I mean, doesn't get
guy Juice.
I mean, the worst.
Devastated.
They couldn't have had a worse injury in offense. Even Kittle. I mean, Kittle is their best player, but he does more for them offensively. And I think the thing is, when you go on down the line with, like, where does it work? Why are they so great? You get to this thing with those great teams I listed there, the championship caliber ones, where they either have a transcendent quarterback or they consistently sustain pressure at, like, a historic rate. Those Broncos, for instance, on the opposing quarterback. You either have a transcendent QB or you transcendently create pressure. And they do everything else that is in football, including special teams and fielding punts and defending field goals. They do it at a historically elite level. And the 2 things they do kind of okay is pressure the quarterback and have a quarterback. So Garoppolo is like 13th in the league in DYAR or whatever. But the big thing for me is they're 25th in pressure rate. So they're 3rd in adjusted sack rate. When they get home, they get sacks. They just don't pressure you that much. It's kind of an easy ride. They're 6th worst in the league at pressuring you, 7th worst in the league at pressuring people. And when you have 3 first-round picks, Nick Bosa, who already looks like the best pass rusher in the league, and he's been here for 4 weeks, basically. He's played 4 games. You have 3 first-round picks. You gave D Ford that mega contract. You've got to be closer to the top 5.
Yeah. I mean, what you can say now is trenches, as you said, on both sides of the ball. I mean, that O-line was the best pass blocking, second best run blocking, and only allowed 20 pressures all season.
Crazy.
You get rid of McGlinchey, you get rid of Staley. I mean, you can't even fathom how big a difference that's going to make for this team. Just look at the Cleveland Browns, who have no tackles.
Yeah.
I mean, is Garoppolo going to do any better than Baker? Is Garoppolo going to start sliding into his tackles? So we've got that to see. And then you've got all those dudes on the D-line. How many fourth-round picks in the first round could he get in your D-line? It's finally coming together, though.
I mean, yeah, you draft Nick Bosa. It looks pretty good.
But when you finally get those people off the edge, like you say, D Ford, yes, it's big money, but when you look what the Chiefs have done to try and replace him with Frank Clark, you think, bloody hell, the 49ers have done all right there, really.
Yeah.
So you got Bosa, you got Clark on the outside. I mean, you can finally use the 10-foot to Forrest Buckner to some use. If Solomon Thomas has any life in him, this is the year for him to turn up.
I didn't even mention Thomas.
Yeah.
You see, I'm left out a defensive lineman.
So they've got so many of them. But what I will say about this team, and what really confuses me, is that, yes, Shanahan is seen as a genius, but what he does in its principle is fundamentally basic, which is shifts. It's play action and tempo. Like, you think every team should think and do this. But last week, there's a stat that they used motion over 83% of their plays, which is pretty bonkers. But obviously, when you got someone like Juszczyk and George Kittle in motion, you know they're damn good blockers. And if they're not blocking in the run game, you know they're going to get open. Yeah. So it's like you've got these two guys on either side of the line who you know are going to be your hot reads. You've got 1, 2 there. If they're not open, which they almost always are, you go, I guess I'll have a look at a wide receiver. What's Dante Pettis doing over there? Kind of thing. So, and then you've got
them is that
17 running backs.
Yes. And they just, and one of them's the fastest in recorded time, apparently, which is like, where did that come from?
Oh, Matt Breida, he was moving.
He's now has the highest carry in back-to-back years and registered in the league. He's like, okay, cool. Wow. So you are forever. And the motion's the shift, and every team, as we've said a million times, every team should do that on every play. It makes no sense that you don't. Communication leads to miscommunication. When someone moves, you have to communicate defensively. It's just basic math, right? At some point, if you do it on 100% of times, they're going to break it like 20 times. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
It's the tempos. The play designs are also pretty creative, and he gets really simple looks for Garoppolo, which is the concern now. That can he beat you as just a drop back passer with no fun and games going on? I'm not convinced of that at all. His numbers haven't been spectacular in the easiest of systems imaginable. He's throwing to 2 wide open guys in every play. But what those guys give you, Juszczyk and Kittle, is you are both in 21 personnel and 12 personnel every single play. They have the most diverse run game in the league because they got the best blocking tight end in the league. They got this creative guy in Juszczyk who can either be the best blocking fullback in the game or can just carry the ball like a good running back or can catch the ball like a good slot receiver. You can do whatever you want with him. So you can either power them over with the run or you can split them out. And you can just decide. It's why they motion to shift so much. They can just decide. They look at the defense and go, we prefer to be in 12 personnel this game. You guys move out. I mean, how do you defend that?
I don't know is the answer to that. How far do you think these guys can go then? Do you think they're going to get 13 wins? Are they going to join the list?
No, because like I said, that you either need to get dominant top 5 pressure with your front 4, so you don't have to blitz anyone, ideally, or you have the transcendent quarterback, and they don't. And now that you just see these pieces fall apart, right? Like when you lose those 3 guys, I think it's done. I reckon their offense will crater without those 3 guys, which will drag them back to just being another decent-ish team. But the people we're there with as their historical contemporaries have had one of those 2 things, and they didn't have either.
I'm just going to finish this 49ers talk with... do you know that they've paid Jerick McKinnon $15.5 million?
This year or over the last 3?
No, over the last 3, but he hasn't touched the ball.
What a legend.
If he does come back, if he ever does, I don't even know if he'll play again, really. What is it, 4 injuries in a row?
Yeah.
But then they've got 6 guys, including Juszczyk, in that backfield who are all better than league average.
Yes.
Which is
Mental.
just bonkers, isn't it?
That's what he wanted. That's what Kyle Shanahan wanted to do, though. How much is Atlanta kicking themselves that they kept Dan Quinn and didn't just promote Shanahan? I know it would have been brutal. We made the Super Bowl with and all that stuff, but you've got to keep the whiz kid offensive guy in this era.
Yeah. Anything else to add on the 49ers?
I'll say this just quickly. The big thing people will point to is the schedule. Now, when I first did this research on, wait, what? The Niners? What? That Niners team? Really? And no one's talking about this? Like, people have been speaking about the Patriots team going undefeated and that the Chiefs might have the best offense ever. Have you had any conversations online or in person where someone has even mentioned the Niners being great?
No, they don't exist.
It's weird. So I looked up, I was like, well, they must have a real easy schedule, which they do. So far, they faced the 16th, 20th, 26th, and 31st teams by DVOA. So the best they face is the most average team. But that is not uncommon among these teams who blitz people. It just is, they are so good. You think it's a fast start, but no, they're just amazing. And you can tell when you look back at who was on those teams and what have you. But they've also faced the 18th, 25th, 28th, and 29th ranked offenses. So they are getting a major inflation defensively on what we think they will be, because, they've had those injuries and everyone's kind of excited about Williams in the slot and, Sherman's back to his best. We got to hold up because they have played the worst of the worst defensively, and they're going to have to face Russell Wilson. They'll see Kyler Murray, and they'll have to face that Rams offense. So I think we'll see them come back down to earth.
Yeah, Quan Alexander needs to be tested properly. Like, everyone's saying, he's worth the money. I mean, he hasn't really been tested in coverage yet, which is obviously the massive question mark with him. So, yeah, interesting to say the least.